if you jam this, we're 1-2 here, and I don't see this going.
That's okay?
Yeah, and then for him to throw this, theirs is going to be right here, and it's
okay. Perfect.
I mean, well, Cooey would love a steal here. He's really looking at how to make sure he gives up the one,
How
right?
big
And
is that
starts to
hole
pull
down
away.
there with like a
You take a steal if you got it, but one up with the hammer is every bit as good as three up without it.
Yeah,
I actually would suggest it's maybe even a little bit better. I don't know the analytics on that offhand, but I think your odds of winning one up with are always pretty good. So
we don't want to have too much curl in here.
Okay.
the thing with five rock rule is that giving the hammer back. So if you're three up, but Team Hardy still has the hammer, twos and threes are very much in play all the time in the five rock rule. So to have a lead and the hammer, I think, is more beneficial than a bigger lead.
Yeah, it's been great watching the five rock rule just because it does generate offense. It's like the mixed doubles where you're not just trying to run out and peel guards. Certainly if a few shots are missed or rocks come in the house, it does make it a little bit more freer. But we've seen lots of ends where there's only maybe one or two rocks that are through the house. Everything else is somewhere out in play.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, the reason I like the five rock rule is because I feel like the four rock rule actually gave the advantage to the team without the hammer. You almost wanted to give it away because without the hammer you got two guards, but with the hammer you only got one because they could peel it after that. So you'd throw the second corner and then they'd run up and peel it. Now with the five rock rule, both teams get two guards. So it levels the playing field again and puts that advantage back in the hands of the team with the hammer, which I feel it should be. So that's my favorite thing about it, but certainly more offense is a huge part of it, and it's really hard to run and hide. So games aren't over as early. You know, 3 or 4 point lead in the four rock rule, you're probably going, okay, well, you know, we're not going to win this game. In the five rock rule, you never know.
Chelsea, one thing I wanted to ask is, it seems like we're still tinkering with the game. We've four rock, we've gone five rock. There's been talk about the tick, or what if I touch the center line, don't remove it. Where's your head at in terms of what you think still needs to be solved with our game, or are we at a good point that maybe we should leave it alone for a while?
I think we're really close. I do think the tick maybe needs to be dealt with in some fashion. My concern about that,
I think the other side.
I like the idea of the center line. I actually like the idea, I think it was actually Don Bartlett's idea, where there's a tight, a halfway, and a long circle. And if you're inside the circle, it can't be ticked, and if you're outside it, it can be, because it makes a bit more precision, you know, required from the team who's throwing the guards. But to me, as big an issue, more in the men's game than the women's game, but it's going to become it in both, is if you're going to take away the center guard tick, then you also need to take away the corner guard tick. And how do you do that? Because there's no line. So if they painted lines like this, then maybe you could get away with it. Maybe that's what needs to happen. I'm not sure how that all works. But so, again, I think if you take away one, you have to take away both. If there's a rule against ticking, there has to be a rule against ticking.
Yeah, we've seen more often than not, and we saw it a few times earlier, even on this live stream sheet, where they would bump the corner guard into the house so
Exactly.
they could remove
That's
it.
when that's the perfect that when I say corner guard tick, that's what I mean. You're not trying to get it anywhere other than in the house so you can hit it. You know, and it's actually in a lot of ways easier because you have the whole house to push it into, so you can actually hit quite a bit of the rock as long as you're not heavy. We play it in mixed doubles. The corner guard tick gets played a lot and is getting made quite a bit as well. So you're going to see that come into play even more than it already has been. But so I just don't know that I agree with the idea of only taking away the center guard tick but not the corner guard tick.
Yeah, some good thoughts as we think about one. You're right, you have to think of the other, because I like your point earlier that in the four rock rule, it almost gave the advantage to the people without last rock. And I think having last rock, you should feel like you've earned something, an advantage, in the five rock rule kind of swings that back. And I hadn't really thought or heard about it that way, but I think you're really right in that. We have to be careful as we change these rules. We kind of don't disturb a balance.
Yeah, for sure. The hammer should still be an advantage, but I think taking away the center guard tick and not the corner guard tick is too much of an advantage for the hammer then, because now the team without the hammer gets their rocks ticked and the team with the hammer doesn't. So I don't know that I believe in that either. So it's an interesting time. I do think we're as close as we've been in a long time, though. I think the five rock rule is the right thing, and we're seeing it generate the offense and do the things it's supposed to do. So certainly on the right track. My only thoughts remaining are either 8 or 10 ends, which is an ongoing debate, and the tick rule.
Go, Josh, hard, get to the line, get to the line.
As high a guard as you can throw.
That's the idea. They're just sweeping to get it to curl. They didn't need that to go any further for depth, but wanted to get it as close to the center line as they can. It's pretty good there. So this is a tick we talked about coming up here from Benny Hebert.
have to start renaming that the Qualico.
Yeah.
High
It is
Garden,
right on the Qualico. I like that.
High Garden,
Qualico, I like that.
High Garden Banff is now the Qualico.
Anything?
Whoa, Beach! Yeah, right out, Beach. Right out.
Wow.
The old COVID rule, you can't even sweep that, eh?
Jerry, you weren't getting that to the boards.
COVID, your percentages go up 10% in picks now.
I think make it a good halfway one.
You know, he's saying that as a joke, but it's actually true. That's a huge difference in the rule because it also didn't have to be the skip in the old rules, sweeping the tick. So you could have your best sweeper there ready for it, and you know, it's when you're talking a foot, they could do that. They could make that happen. So not being able to sweep the tick makes the tick a lot easier to make. So if we didn't need a rule about the tick before, we certainly will now with the new COVID regulations.
You heard it here. COVID-10, we call it. 10% better on these ticks. Well, they need this one to stop. They don't want it to leak into the house.
Ooh,
And
just slid a little too far.
You know, Team Cooey doesn't need to generate offense here. They can basically run this for a few ends, but given the
control.
opportunity, you certainly know they'll try to put it away.
Want to roll it over there?
I like that.
I'm in. Out turn across.
Pretty.
Control. Let's make this roll.
It's really nice when they
Gradual
tell
fall.
us. They almost do the commentating for us, Chelly.
I don't think we need commentators. We just need to make sure Ben's mic'd, and there might be some trucks driving by, but you'll also know what's going on.
Well, looks like they're going to nose it. That's usable as a guard for
Absolutely,
Team
it is.
Hardy.
Team Jeremy Hardy's going to run up there as fast as he can and throw a guard on that, I would think.
Are we going to hit it? We could guard it. I don't know. We'd have to measure. True. If we hit, it's blank, right?
So Chelsea,
Are
you allowed to measure that in
You
the
are
middle of
allowed
the
to
game?
measure
Can you
it.
ask for it? Okay.
Yeah, so the only measurement that you're allowed in the middle of an end is to determine if the rock's in or out of the house and the free guard zone stones. Other than that, you have to wait till the end of the end to measure it, and it's actually even illegal to, I see people in clubs and things using their foot or a broom or something to try to measure. That is illegal, but you can use the 6-foot stick during the free guard zone to determine whether it's in or out.
Looks like what they want to do, and Goller's going to head over and grab it. It's kept in the corner. He's going to pass it to Kyler, saying, hey, I've done enough sweeping. You take this down there. They'll both come down. Why not?
Why not?
While we do that, you mentioned the 8 or 10 rock rule. Chelsea, what are your thoughts on that? Not to put you on the spot, of course.
So I'm torn about it, which I actually think a lot of us are. My personal opinion is that for the betterment of the game, everything should be 8 ends because it fits better into a TV time slot versus a 10 end game is a little bit too long for a traditional TV time slot, and TV is the future of the game. It's how we're going to be successful. So we want to maximize our television revenues as far as sponsorships and advertising. I do think that there is a tradition involved in 10, and having the Scotties and the Briar B10 is just how it's been for so long that it's a bit hard to want to change that, but I also think it leads to more blank ends in those games. In a 10 end game, you don't mind burning an end or two, so it's less interesting to watch. So I think from a sponsorship standpoint, from a viewer standpoint, it should be 8. I know the players struggle with that a little bit, myself included, but I think it's the best thing for the future of the game, personally.
I mean, is it not true that a longer game would I guess give the advantage to the better team?
That's what they say, yeah. I think with the 5 rock rule, though, that equalizes it a little bit. I still think that it's maybe true, but again, the point to me is if we want the game to grow and be better, we need more viewers, we need more sponsorship. And both of those are going to be more easily accomplished with games that fit into a shorter time period and that are more offensive throughout versus games that are boring to watch on TV that are a little too long for a traditional TV time slot.